Good morning. Today, I want to speak about GPS in my presentation. First of all, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you know anything about GPS? Besides destination, what type of service that GPS would provide you as you travel? Any guess?
Let people know where you are in case of emergency.
Exactly. And GPS also, as we're talking about it, pretty much the history of GPS today, GPS takes a very large part of time in our life. As we travel, we always depend on, first of all, not only the departure, but the arrival. We always think about, I need to get to the point where I'm going on time. So you put your GPS, put your address on the GPS, and you focus on the GPS all the way, then you find destination, and when you get there, you go, woohoo, I'm there. So that's the point I'm talking about today about GPS. First of all, GPS works pretty much with satellite. You can have a device like this, as we say, I'm going to pass it to you. You cannot have a GPS with no charge, no address, nothing in it, to say that you're going to get satellite on it. So it has to be charged, and it has to be on the address you put on it, then you focus on it. So it's pretty much pretty cool. It's also show you the altitude, and also it shows you a lot of stuff. Like when you're on the road, it shows you when there's a point with a hotel, restroom, and also it tells you where you got to get a rest area where you have to stop and take a little rest. GPS works, as I told you already, GPS works with satellite. This is how satellite looks like. So we're going to focus on the history of GPS right now. And before that, we can talk about a little bit of GPS, and I'm going to show you a little video right now.
From Disney Nature, meet Maya. She's courageous, independent, and about to get a little company.
That's a commercial. So let's.
Across a majestic world as they experience their bravest adventure yet. Disney Nature's Monkey Kingdom. See Monkey Kingdom opening a week to help protect endangered species in their natural habitats. In theaters April 17th, rated G.
This episode is brought to you by the Air Force Collaboratory. GPS is important to everything in our lives. That is why we are totally replacing it. Wait, what? In a couple days, the Air Force is launching another new GPS satellite into space. GPS 2F5 is the 5th upgraded satellite in a long-term plan to make GPS faster, more accurate, and more efficient, which is awesome, not just because I can't find anything more than a mile from my home without it, but also because it's used in everything from ATMs to dog collars to farming equipment. The first generation of the Global Positioning System was created by the Air Force in 1973 for doing complex things like finding lost soldiers and instantly figuring out the math required to launch a missile from a mobile platform. GPS, as you and I know it, started in 1989 with the launch of the first GPS-2 satellite. The new network was opened completely to the public in the year 2000. The GPS network is made up of 24 operational satellites and some extras for backup. 4 satellites always have a line of visibility to your receiver at any time of day. Your receiver gets information on the location of at least 3 of the satellites around you and the distance between you and those satellites. And using those measurements lets your receiver pinpoint where you are. It's called trilateration. Now to do this, all the GPS satellites and receivers don't just have to know where they are, they have to know exactly what time it is when they're sending their positions. say it's exactly noon and you check your GPS. If one of those satellites think that it's 12:01, it's going to mess up your position. It might think you're moving. That's why every satellite's got an atomic clock in it that is accurate to a billionth of a second. And every receiver uses a quartz clock that constantly resets itself to match its time to the last one it got from the satellites. And that's also why GPS isn't just used in positioning anymore. It's also used in timekeeping situations where everything needs to be synchronized perfectly. Stock market trades use the atomic clocks in the GPS network because just a fraction of a second could change the ownership of billions of dollars. It's also used in ATMs. With more and more of our lives becoming dependent on GPS, it's not surprising that a massive upgrade is underway. Type 2F satellites like the one being launched in a few days are considered interim upgrades that have a 12-year lifespan, improved clocks, and a new type of signal for everyday use. And by 2020, we'll be using Type 3 satellites. They're going to have newer clocks that are accurate to a fraction of a billionth of a second. Super important for military and financial uses. They will also have increased signal strength and accuracy. While GPS is accurate to about 20 feet, the new Type 3 network will be accurate to an arm's length. I don't know if that's like a tall guy's arm, or my arm, or like a baby arm, or what, but I feel like my eyes might be able to take it from there regardless. If you're interested in the GPS network, our sponsors over at the Air Force Collaboratory want you to help them decide where to launch a Type 2F satellite that is going live in spring of next year. So head over, join the Collaboratory, and you can weigh in on where the members of the Air Force Space Command will position a $150 million satellite that will provide positioning and timekeeping for billions of people. So go launch a satellite and subscribe here for more D News. Visit the Air Force Collaboratory at airforce.com/collaboratory. Work with real airmen to solve some of the Air Force's toughest science and technology challenges. Your idea could change everything.
Okay. Do you know why they're showing up the militaries and the war back in the day when the GPS was around? Do you know why they're showing up?
She's courageous, independent, and about to get a little deep within the ancient jungles of...
Yeah, they're showing the militaries because they used GPS back in the day for tracking the lost soldiers. During the back in the day when they had the war going on, they get that for information to locate it wherever they have somebody that lost or left behind, so they can find it. But nobody had access to GPS back then. The history of GPS: in 1959, the Navy built the first real satellite navigation system, which is called Transit. The system was designed to locate submarine and started out with 6 satellites and eventually grew to 10. The sub often had to wait hours to receive signal from the satellite, but the model set the stage for true GPS with continuous signaling from satellite in space. In 1963, the Aerospace Corporation completed the third for the military that proposes a system of space satellite that sends signal continuously to receivers on the ground and could locate vehicles moving rapidly across the Earth's surface or in the air. The study lays out the GPS concept that we know today for the first time. Receivers in vehicles on the ground would drive a precise set of location coordinate by measuring the transmission time of radio signal from satellites. In 1974, the branches of the military, after having worked on the GPS system for the past 11 years, launched the first satellite of the proposed 24 satellite GPS system called NEV Star. The satellite and many to follow are meant to test the NEV Star concept. In 1978 and 1985, the military launched 11 more test satellites into space to test the NEV Star system, which by then was called simply the GPS system. The satellite carried atomic clocks with them. The more precisely measured transmission times. Some of these satellites started in 1980, carry sensors designed to detect the launch or detonation of nuclear device. 1983, shortly after the Russian shot down Korean Air Flight 007 after it wandered off course into Soviet airspace over the Kamchatka Peninsula, President Reagan offered to let all civilian commercial aircraft use the GPS system. Once it was completed, they improved navigation and the air safety. In 1985, the government contracted with private companies to develop airborne, snapboard, and man-packed portable GPS receivers. In 1989, after years of testing, the Air Force finally launched the first fully operational GPS satellite into the space. The Air Force had planned to launch the satellite on the space shuttle, but changed its plans after the Challenger disaster in 1986 and used a Delta II rocket instead. 1990, fearing military advisory might use the GPS system to advantage the Defense Department decided to deliberately decrease the accuracy of the system. 1994, the FAA and Bill Clinton tell the worldwide airline industry that can continue using the GPS system free of charge for the foreseeable future. In 1995, the first wave of the GPS system was finally completed in 1995, when the last of a full constellation of 27 fully operational GPS satellite is launched into space. Of those 27, 3 were used as spare to quickly replace any of the 24 active satellites that failed. Then, Earth-Ed satellite, which weighed between 3 and 4,000 pounds, cycled the globe twice a day. They were saturated so that at least 4 of them were visible from any place at any time of the day. So back then, you could just stand outside and look at the air and you see satellite lined up right there on the air. In 1998, Vice President Al Gore announced a plan to make the GPS satellite transmit 2 additional signals to be used for civilian, non-military applications, especially to improve aircraft safety. Congress approved a plan called GPS 3 in 2000. In 1999, mobile phone manufacturer Benphone launched the first commercially available GPS phone. A safety phone called the Benphone ESC, the GSM phone, was sold mainly in Europe, but many other GPS-enabled mobile phones would follow. In 2001, as GPS receiver technology for as GPS receiver technology got more smaller and cheaper, private companies began pumping out personal GPS products, like the in-car navigation devices from TomTom and Garmin. In 2004, Qualcomm said it had developed and tested assisted GPS technology, allow phone to use cellular signal in combination with GPS signal to locate the user to within feet of their actual location. 2005, the first of the new generation of GPS satellite called Block 2 was launched from Cape Canaveral. The new breed of satellite transmitted signal on the second dedicated civilian channel. In 2009, the Government Accountability Office GAO issued a report warning that the $5.8 billion effort to upgrade the GPS satellite was so fraught with technical problems, cost overruns, and delay that some of the satellite could begin to fail in 2010. This sent the Air Force scrambling to allay fears, saying there's only a small risk. We will not continue to exceed our performance standard. 2010, 2011, the Air Force launched the two new GPS satellites, one in 2010 and one in 2011, that are meant to keep the constellation operable until the next generation, Block 3 satellite can begin launch in 2014. The new Block 3 satellite will add an additional civilian GPS signal and will enhance the performance of existing GPS service. 2012, present, the Air Force manages a constellation of 32 operational GPS satellites plus 3 decommissioned satellites that can be reactivated if needed. The constellation is managed to ensure the availability of at least 24 GPS satellites 95% of the time. On October 4, the Air Force will launch the next addition to the constellation, the GPS 2F-3 satellite into space. I have a little video for you to watch.
There's more to life than the climb. There's the view.
Hi, my name is Tony, and on behalf of Expert Village, this is how to use your GPS. Basic edition, of course. Let's go. Chapter 6, choosing a destination based on an address. Again, we're using the TomTom 1. What you want to do is click the screen once. Oops. Click the screen. We're going to choose Navigate to. Then we're going to choose Address. In the address section, we have the choice of choosing an address by the city, a postcode, cross intersection, or of course the street and home address. That's the one we're going to try to do. Click that. Choose the city that we're looking for, in this case Tampa, Florida. Choose the road we're looking for. We'll just use this default one for right now. Click that. That's a good number to look for. This is where you would add your actual numerical number, whatever the address is. 10306, whatever it ends up being. 90210, doesn't matter. Hit done. Do we need to arrive there at a particular time? Let's say no. It'll plan the route out for you, just like this. Da-da-da, and it's done. It says that we'll get there in 36 minutes, and it's 19.9 miles away. We click done, we're ready to go. And that's how you choose your destination by address.
Okay. And this is the end of my presentation. Once again, my name is Volny. Thank you for having me.